Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of FooTea Fantasy, where we discuss football and FPL over a cup of tea. I'm your host Shouvik, and I'm joined by my co-host Sourav. Today's pod is a wildcard special pod, since a lot of the managers out there who are playing FPL have their wildcard chip activated, including myself. Shourav has already played his wildcard, so he'll be able to give us some valuable inputs on how he went about his wildcard preparations and preparing a good wildcard draft. Before we dive into the wildcard discussions and have a look at the fixture tickers and the teams and discuss who are the good picks from each team, let's quickly review how our game week 5 went. So, Shourab, why don't you tell us how your game week 5 went?
Okay, so as far as the game week is concerned, uh, I had a satisfactory score. My rank jumped from 1.5 million to 300k, and
Oh my
I
God.
had a
That's a
yeah
1.2
that was a
million jump.
yeah, and
That's a huge ad.
I had a couple. I mean, a lot of players scoring double-digit hauls. So there were total of 6 players who returned, including Salah captain, and out of them, 4 were double digit also. Diaz, Rogers, Jackson, and Trent scored more than 10 points. So Diaz and Jackson were the differentials that were the main cause for this rank. Mbuemo did good, like we thought. Salah with a 6 pointer, just an assist was less than we expected, but still it's not a blank. And again, Haaland with the usual goal and 9 points. So I had an auto sub of Creeves, which who substituted in for Lewis, and have Colville with a 7 points on my as a third sub. So yeah, that's my team.
So you had a impressive score of 89 points and a big fat green arrow of 1.2 million. That's super impressive. And you have also moved to the top of our own mini league, the FooTea Fantasy mini league. So congratulations on that. Hope you keep that place till the end of the season. Although I'm closely following you and I will try to catch you. Uh, talking of my team, I scored 69 points, which is not too bad. Uh, it is above the average. I had I also had quite a few good returns throughout the team. Alexander Arnold had 11 pointer. Finally, Munoz came in with a clean sheet and an unexpected clean sheet for Crystal Palace. Konsa with a goal and 9 pointer. Rogers finally returned with a 10 pointer. Although we have been talking about his potential to return in the last pod as well. Mohamed Salah was my captain, 12 points from him. Haaland 9 pointer. Nothing much to talk about apart from that. Gordon, Eze, Pedro, Isaac, all blanked, and my bench is almost as good as nothing. So it was just 0 and 1 point, more or less, on my bench. So 69 points, which was good. I was not expecting 69 in game week 5, and now I have my wildcard chip active, and I'm really excited to discuss my wildcard picks and the potential teams to target with you because yeah, this is an exciting time. This is what all FPL managers look forward to, all the planning and tinkering with their team. So yeah, I'm excited to discuss all these things with you. So let's move ahead and discuss the fixture. Sure, why don't you take us here?
Yeah. So before that, I had a question. Was this wildcard planned, or is it something that uh, helps you target certain teams?
No, this wildcard for me was definitely planned right before game week 1 started. When I had settled on in my initial team, uh, I knew I was going to wildcard in game week 6, primarily because my initial team was good for the first 5 game weeks. I was targeting Fulham, Southampton, and Newcastle, Liverpool. All those teams had good fixtures to start with. and I basically had no Arsenal attacker for the first 5 game weeks, and I knew come game week 6 that couldn't be the strategy, and the fixture swing was uh, considerably big enough for me to not be able to cater to this using my free transfers. So this wildcard was planned because I did not carry all my free transfers through from game week 1. I had made a couple of transfers; those were planned too. So I had to balance rolling the transfers and chasing upside. So yeah, this was planned. This wildcard was planned, um, and I think a wildcard, the importance of wildcard also uh, reduced a little since we can roll a 5 transfers. So I thought playing the wildcard now would not hinder me from targeting the other swings that would come uh, before the next wildcard gets activated in game week 2021. So yeah, it was planned, and probably I would like to say it was well thought of, but let's see.
Yeah. So now coming on to the teams, let's look at the fixture ticker. The first and obvious team that stands out is Arsenal in this wild card. So they have Leicester at home, Southampton at home, and Bournemouth away in the first three. So that's basically facing two newly promoted teams at home. And I think that's the team that you're targeting mainly in this wild card.
Yeah, so I think the defining factor is obviously Arsenal for this wild card, and the biggest swing is there. The biggest upside is with Arsenal in this uh, fixture swing. So definitely Arsenal is the team I'm looking at most, and there's definitely a triple up there. Whether it's a double defense or a double attack, that's a conversation that we'll have right now. But having triple Arsenal, I think, is a no-brainer if you are on wildcard 6. So with Leicester, Southampton, Bournemouth, the first three, those are obviously upside chasing fixtures. But then it does get a little tricky in game week 9, 10, 11, where they have Liverpool, Newcastle, and Chelsea. Before it again goes on a patch of green run from 12 onwards. So it is a little, tricky to plan the Arsenal assets and whether you need rotation for them in game week 9, 10, 11. You can also argue Arsenal are fixture proof, and you can perma play
You
their
don't
assets.
rotate.
Yeah, you
You
can
don't rotate the second best team in the league.
yeah, but you can say that for maybe Saka is can be a perma play.
But see, Ria can also be a perma play. Obviously, if he's a keeper, Gabriel, we have seen in the two toughest fixtures, Tottenham and City away. I mean, he scored in both. So
Yeah, again, that depends on the picks. As I said, you can either target double attack or you can go for a double defense. Now, I think if you go for a double attack, that would ideally be mostly Saka and Havertz for most managers. Um, because I think Martinelli, Trossard, or anybody else, Gabriel Jesus is not starting. Martinelli and Trossard are not returning that consistently and would be a little too punty. Even if you want to take a punt, that's a little too punty, I feel. So going there is not an option for me. At least I don't have that kind of a risk appetite. Uh, Now with Saka and Havertz, I think Saka is a perma play. You can obviously keep playing him, but with Havertz, I feel there is a conversation to be had because you can move a Havertz from that forward position to another 7.5, 7.6 range striker. You have Solanke there,
Solanke,
yeah, you
yeah.
have Jackson there, and or if you have some money in the bank, or if you're rolling these 3 weeks and you have these three transfers in your hand, you might bring in more funds and go to a Watkins or anybody. If Isak starts scoring and goes on a run uh, to an Isak, although Isak himself doesn't have very good fixtures at that time. But yeah, I mean, there's strategy there. Is all I want to say. So first, I would like to have your thoughts. If you were wildcarding, or since you are not wildcarding, you have already wildcarded and you don't have any Arsenal in your team at this point. If
Yeah,
you
and
are if whether you are planning to bring in Arsenal assets, and if you are planning to bring in Arsenal assets, and if you had the choice to bring in double defense or double attack, what would you do?
so now that uh, there are a lot of factors involved. First of all, these pictures look like a very high scoring ones if I looked at it from a game week one perspective. Now that Odegaard is missing and these teams are mostly weaker to middling teams, they do tend to play a low block. And without Odegaard unlocking the defense or playing that defense splitting pass, it becomes a lot difficult to back that uh, double Arsenal attack because we talked about it in one of the pods that the trio that forms on the right hand side between Saka, Odegaard, and White
The
is now
diamond.
broken. Yeah, yeah, that particular triangle, and now
Yeah.
in the last game we saw that White is not needed. So that chemistry has to develop between Saka and the other two players that are playing on the right. So as an as a attacker, I would only go with Saka because he has the set pieces. I mean, he delivers amazing balls into the box. I've seen it in those two Gabriel headers. He also has penalty. He takes direct free kicks, and he takes shots from outside the box. So
But
Saka has a lot of appeal.
yeah, I mean
Yeah,
the upside is there with Saka, and but he also you have to remember he also costs you 2 million more than a Kai Havertz maybe. So I think
but it's
whether
that 2 million is justified by the points that Saka can bring in over the season because, like you said, like if you have Saka, you it would be a perma play. He could score against Liverpool, he could score against Newcastle or Chelsea. Now,
yeah, yeah.
someone like an Odegaard, if fit, or Havertz could not do. So Havertz couldn't bring in points against City or against Tottenham. Saka did. So that's the small differences that add up.
Definitely. I think Saka has returned in all 5 game weeks, and that's
Yeah.
remarkable, really. And I think even the fixture ticker, if you see here, I think is a little bit misleading. I mean, I would not rate Newcastle as a red fixture presently. I mean, an
They
FDR
have a bad
score.
defense.
Uh, for from attackers' point of view, I don't think Chelsea is a particularly difficult fixture either. I mean, Arsenal can definitely unlock that defense. Um,
We will.
yeah.
We will unlock.
Yeah, I think there'll be goals on
Yeah.
both ends because Chelsea's attack is also has started to click, and by the time Game Week 11 rolls around, you can hope that they'll be much more well-oiled machine. So there's definitely talent in that attack. In any case, I think that's not really a red fixture for Arsenal. I think the only fixture that would worry me here is the Liverpool fixture because that could well be a nil-nil or a 1-0 Liverpool win. You never know. Although Arsenal are playing at home, so you would expect them to not lose at least.
Yeah,
Uh,
Arsenal attacks whenever they're at home, and Saka is a different beast at home.
yes,
So he can pop in a goal outside the box.
definitely, definitely. But that's a tricky fixture in either case. So yeah, I think Arsenal Odegaard missing is a big factor as you mentioned for the double attack. That is what is putting me off a double attack as well. So my present wildcard draft has a single Arsenal attacker, and that is how I think I'll go. I'll go with a double defense and a
Whether
single attacker.
and another point in terms of double defense is the value that they bring in. So you get a 6 million attacking defender, even though he's a CB in Gabriel, and Rhea who makes a lot of saves. So that 5.6 and 6.1, that's far more valuable than the 8 plus the 12.5 that you would invest in the Arsenal attack.
Yeah,
So yeah, double defense makes more
we are
sense.
talking about. I mean, I think it's interesting to see how we have automatically assumed that the double defense would be Raya and Gabriel without actually they have not spoken to each other before this pod, and this is the first time even we are discussing. my wild card, or your thoughts on this wild card. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious both are the high scoring defenders and goalkeepers in their own right. So
yeah. So I think the last thing that I'd like to discuss on Arsenal with you is: do you think Gabriel is a rotation risk in game week 6, 7, or 7, 8, where there will be Champions League and there's an international break, and we know South American players come back late. Do you think because these are easy fixtures, there's any chance Gabriel gets benched?
the thing is, the backup to Gabriel is Calafiori, and the backup to the left back, whoever plays, let's say Zinchenko, is Kiwior. So now, since Zinchenko is injured, Calafiori becomes the left back of choice. So now Timber can play both left back and right back role. We see that Timber has now been selected over White. So if you're expecting a back four of Calafiori, Gabriel, Saliba, and Timber on the right, so Gabriel and Saliba do not. I mean, they're not replaceable. So
Uh,
even though they have a tough fixture, and I see your point. So they have Leicester, then they have uh, PSG, and then the Southampton games come, right.
it's interesting that you mentioned that Timber is the defender of choice. Do you think it was only because of City that maybe Arteta went for Calafiori and Timber as more defensively astute defenders? Because um, White is definitely more attacking, but maybe defensive quality wise, Timber and Calafiori offer you much more. So
Yeah,
maybe
Timber
it
is a
was.
better defender than White, but in terms of attack, White has, like, I keep repeating myself, that White has that chemistry in the right, but since Odegaard is missing, the Timber could offer the same capabilities that White could on the right side.
Yeah.
Now, going forward, was it a knock or an injury that White was carrying that we do not know of? Arteta is not clear in his pressers.
Yeah, I mean, on that, Arteta has mentioned that one of the players is seriously injured. So we'll have to keep an eye on out on for that, because that could be anyone. That could be Raya, that could be Calafiori, could be Timber. Saka was taken off at halftime. You never know. So we'll have to keep, because it was a very weird presser from Arteta. The journalist was asking him multiple times in different ways, but he just did not.
He was hesitant.
Yeah, he did not reveal. So, anyways, so yeah, I think it's pretty clear that on this wild card you can triple up on Arsenal, and double defense is the way we think. I think both you and I agree. Double defense is the way to go. So I think Arsenal's pretty obvious. Let's move on. What what other team are you looking at? I personally think after Arsenal, Brentford have a particularly good fixture run right up till from game week 6, right up till I think 18. I think you have,
Yeah.
except for a couple of fixtures, I think they have a pretty decent fixture run.
Yeah, even the bad fixtures like Aston Villa and Chelsea, they're good for attackers.
Yeah.
So both are not good defense. So you can your Mbumo or Wissa, if he was fit, were always good options.
So let's Embumo is a very obvious pick from Brentford, because if you want to target, Embumo is the pick. Let's discuss a little in depth. If not, or should I rephrase it? Apart from Embumo, if you wanted to go for Brentford, do you think uh, you have anybody else in terms of their attacker to invest, or somebody from their defense? Do you trust their defense to invest in that?
So first, going on covering the defense, because I already have Flecken. So the defenders or the goalkeeper tends to make a lot of saves. The opponent takes a lot of shots from outside the box, so it's good for the goalkeeper, but not for the defenders. The only defender that makes sense to me is Pinnock. because he has a aerial threat.
Yeah.
Now, and Rico Henry is not fit. He gave me a lot of points in the past few seasons, so I would have picked him if I was picking a Brentford defender, but I wouldn't go near Collins or Van de Beek because Ben Mee would be coming soon, and we don't know who he replaces.
But we don't know for sure. Ben May replaces Collins. He might replace Pinnock. Pinnock was very poor against Spurs. I mean, first goal and a couple of more chances. It was Pinnock's misplaced pass that led to those goals. So it could be. And Collins has performed brilliantly. I mean, he has been good. So we don't know actually whom for sure whom Ben Mee would
Yeah,
actually
it's
replace.
so out of the three, if Ben Mee, so yeah, there is no clear call who Ben Mee replaces. But at the point, if I don't consider Ben Mee, I'd go for Pinnock only just for the aerial threat.
Yeah, yeah. And I think Brentford gives you the other clear goalkeeper choice. If you're not going for Raya, I think Flecken gives you the best long-term set and forget type of a keeper. You can just keep Flecken there, stop worrying, play him every week.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
coming
So
on to the attack, yeah. So what
yeah,
happens is we have seen uh, two formations, right? The 5-3-2 or the 4-3-3. So when Brentford are playing weaker teams, like they would in the next few fixtures, it would be a 4-3-3 formation with Mbumo on the right wing, and the center forward would mostly be covered by Shade. What happens is the left wing. So previously we have talked about Lewis Potter being being
yeah,
the choice, yeah, being the first choice for the left spot because he tries in a lot of uh, balls and crosses from the left wing. So it's a it's a combination of Lewis Potter and Carvalho on the left. Now, would I go for any Brentford attacker apart from Mbumo? It's kind of a wait and watch because even though Carvalho is priced at 4.8 or Shard is priced at 5.4, there are good or alternate options at those particular price points. You can go Rogers, you can go, let's say, Semenyo or ESR at the 5.5 to 5.7 category. So, yeah, it becomes an iffy spot.
yeah. I think you're right. But I think I won't go for any other Brentford attacker unless you're trying to take a punt and he's your eighth attacker and you go for a Carvalho and take a chance whether he plays. If he doesn't play, he just sits on your bench and
Yeah,
you have somebody to come on.
as an eighth attacker, he's good, but not as one of your main attackers who you would think of playing them week in week out.
Yeah, definitely. That's for sure. What other team are you looking at, Shourab, apart from Brentford and Arsenal, who were the obvious fixture swing teams from Game Week 6? What other team would you be looking at?
So City, I mean, everyone is on Haaland. Uh, at least most of us are on Haaland. So getting another City attacker or a defender, it's is something that would tempt me because starting from game week 7, Fulham at home, Wolves away, Southampton at home, Bournemouth away, Brighton away. These are, and then Tottenham away at home. So these are fixtures for high ceiling. So
But whom do you
anyone,
go for? I mean, City second finding a second attacker from City is the real problem. Whom do you go for?
yeah. Now there comes the caveat of KDB injury. So if KDB is out for at least 2 to 3 weeks, Foden could play and Gundogan could bomb forward. Now these two become options in the wild card as a punt, purely as a punt for 2 to 3 weeks, and then it's a wait and watch.
Well, good shout there, but I would just disagree with you on the probably Foden pick. Foden is, I think, a very risky, a little too risky for me because even KDB was not fit versus Arsenal, but we didn't see Foden for a long period of time. In fact, even though City were unable to break Arsenal down, Foden came in quite late. And I don't know why. I think there's something going on because Foden has had enough time to recover after the international break, also, and after the Euros, he hardly played 45 minutes versus Chelsea, and then against Arsenal, I don't know why he's just not playing. So I think
So
Foden is too
you
risky.
cannot consider the system that Pep used against Arsenal because he had Rodri there and he didn't play players like Stones or Kovacic or anyone. So even he had Walker on the right instead of Lewis. So it was more of a defensive. Uh, he opted for a defensive stability rather than a full fledged attack. So
All right. So I think we can conclude City by discussing two of their assets, which I think could be a punt, and I would love to get your thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on Savio? Because I think he has started every game under Pep till now, and I think
apart from the one that where he was injured.
yeah, and Pep likes him. He loves him. He's a good player. He's superb on the eye. You mentioned it in the last pod, much like Mahrez, and he's just a kid, 20, 21 years old. Lots of potential. I think he could be a good punt. If you want to take a punt, I think uh, Gundogan and Foden would rank lower than Savio for me. And also, I would like, since Luis is in your team, Rico Luis is in your team, I want to get your thoughts on what do you think Rico Luis's chances are of playing going forward.
So yeah, the Rodri injury makes Lewis a favorable pick, but I wouldn't go there with the wild card because Stones can come into that inverting role at any point. I don't think Walker comes in because he had terrible performances in the last two, and he also played the 90 minutes in midweek. So
Yeah,
that was yesterday. So did Lewis, but Walker played back to back 90 this week. So Lewis going forward as my fourth defender, he's good. He can invert. I think of him as a cheap way into the Man City defense with a considerable upside, but not a huge attacking threat like Cancelo or Cavadio.
yeah, I agree. There's risk with Luis, and if you have a good bench, I think you can go for Luis. Because one thing with Luis, I definitely feel is either he comes on, I mean, either he starts or he doesn't come on. Even against Arsenal, we saw Rico Lewis didn't come on. So he either starts, might get an early sub. That's a different thing if he's not performing well. But I don't think he comes off the bench too often to block your auto sub. So
Yeah,
yeah, if you
Pep
if you
doesn't make those wing back changes.
yeah, so I think you can go for Lewis if you have a good bench. You know, maybe a Mikolenko or somebody a 4.5 defender to cover. So I think these three are the teams which had one of the biggest fixture not swing in case of Man City. I think these three are the teams which have the most best fixtures and teams where you can invest in multiple assets. Sure, let's now going forward discuss some of the good assets from each team that you can probably target. Not from each team, but some good assets that you can target from the teams that are there. So if we see the fixture ticker here, I think Everton have a very favorable run from sixth right up to game week 14. So any picks you'd be suggesting from Everton?
So Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he's what 6 million now. He's a good way into the forward spot. He can be a placeholder for Wood if you want to change it him later. He could be Joao Petro if you want to change him later. TCL, although he's not a very good finisher, he's on pens and gets a lot of chances. So DCL is one. I wouldn't. So McNeil is somewhat tempting because of the price point and his change in position. So he started playing the number 10 instead of playing the left wing. So he will get a lot of let's say shots or chances, but yeah, I would prefer DCL over McNeil because they're around the same price point.
I think if you're going for a Semenyo type of pick who has a good 6 and 7 fixtures in 6 and 7, but then takes a dip in 8, 9, 10 going forward. I think if you're going for Semenyo on a wildcard six as a
Yeah,
pick,
then it's a good out.
you can switch to McNeil in game week 8 and have Ipswich, Fulham, and Southampton, which is brilliant. Even West Ham after that. So that they are defensively they are looking pretty bad right now. And if this kind of West Ham defense continues, you can hold McNeil for 4 or 5 game weeks, and at 5.4 he's right now, I think. Um so that's a great value for with some great fixtures. So again, as your seventh or eighth attacker, I don't mind that. He's playing well. And what are your thoughts on Chelsea's assets? I mean, Nicholas Jackson and Cole Palmer. Do you think Palmer is worth going on the wild card? I've seen a lot of drafts with Palmer in it.
Yeah, he plays a good uh, plays the good position, creates a lot of chances for for Jackson. So he will return. He's good in the long term if you hold him and have the patience to keep him. But looking at the value and what he would offer compared to other players and what you can do with the remaining money if you downgrade him to a, let's say, Diaz or Jackson in forward, I think that money could bring about a lot of improvements in your squad. Com- so comparing basically Jackson and Palmer, I would prefer Jackson. Or I have him in my team. He has a goal threat. He also creates chances and is on purple patch. So yeah, Jackson
So
is
I
the
think I think if you go
my
for a
favorite.
Jackson in game week 6, there's also an outlet because Chelsea's fixtures from game week 8 to 11, those block of four fixtures are not really the best. So if you're going
Mhm.
for a Jackson in game week 6, I think there's an outlet in game week 8 where you can simply switch to Dominic Solanke at
Solanke to
exactly
the
the
same
same price
price.
point. And Spurs' fixtures even from game week 6 are decent, and going from game week 8, I think they have some great fixtures. If I'm speaking by memory, I think Spurs have Ipswich at home in game week 11. No, they have, yeah,
They
they
have,
have Ipswich at
yeah.
home at game week 11. So I think Solanke,
Even before that, they have Aston Villa and West Ham at home in
yeah.
8 and I think it around 9-10. So they could also be high scoring fixtures for
Yeah, and
Spurs.
they have Crystal Palace in game week 9, so they are also leaking goals at this point. So I think Solanke is a good shout. I mean, Jackson and Solanke combo is something you can look at. Palmer, even I agree. I'm not going for him in my wild card. I think 10 million if you're spending, you can go for Saka. If not, we have just talked about Spurs fixtures. You can go for a Son if you want, a Madison if you want, and invest that money somewhere else. Especially with Cole Palmer getting substituted early, we don't have the guarantee of 90 minutes with Cole Palmer, which we had previously. So that is a big turnoff for a 10.5 million, 10.6 million asset. So yeah, you can go for Palmer if you really he will deliver that he will give you some returns, but I think there are better options out there. Uh, what other players and what other teams are you looking at, Shurab?
I think everyone knows what Liverpool is doing at the moment. So any attacker from Liverpool, be it Salah or Diaz, something that I would recommend on a wild card. So
So I've
especially,
seen a lot of teams, a lot of drafts without Salah. Do you think that's a good strategy going without Salah?
so people are looking at the opportunity cost of losing Salah for this 3 weeks and getting a Saka. Now
But
that
Salah could
would,
haul. Salah, you have Wolves. I don't know why Wolves away is not being treated as a plum fixture for Salah.
Salah, yeah, it is. So anyone out of the right and the left wing, Salah or Diaz could haul in this fixture.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
even the next one, Crystal Palace away, is also a good fixture. So I recommend going for at least one of the Liverpool attackers uh, in this run. I mean, apart from Arsenal away, all the fixtures up till game week 12 is extremely good for Liverpool.
Yeah. So, Wolves, I think you won't go for Wolves in wildcard 6. Wolves, if you're wildcarding after game week 9, I think Wolves have a good run of fixtures. So, that's the discussion for wildcard 9 and beyond. And I think when while game week 9 comes around, we'll do another wildcard pod for people who are on a wildcard in game week 9, because I think 9 and 12 would be pretty popular with wildcarders again. We are not no Wolves. I don't think anybody is going for West Ham. Their defense, their attack looks disjointed at this point. Spurs we have talked about. Nottingham Forest is an interesting one. Their defense is looking good. Chris Wood is on penalties. What do you think?
So, yeah, like I spoke about the cheap attacker spot, it could be TCL, it could be Chris Wood, it could be Joao Pedro if fit. So, Wood is a good option. He plays for a good team with him as the focal point. So yeah, Wood is definitely a good option.
Yeah, I
And
think if you're spreading your funds and trying to fit in Saka and everybody with two Arsenal defenses, you will need some budget forwards, and I think Wood is as good as they come in the budget forwards with Welbeck, Wood. I think they're all good options. Yeah, you were saying
but
something.
one thing for Wood is that the next two fixtures, the Fulham and the Chelsea, because for the Fulham fixture, Gibbs White is missing, and Chelsea is an away fixture. These two might not be a very high scoring or Wood could blank, but the ones after that, Crystal Palace, Leicester, West Ham, Newcastle, Wood could score a goal or two. So
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think Chelsea away last season, Forest won that fixture. But yeah, could be different this time. Newcastle again. I don't think we are going anywhere near Newcastle. And Manchester United, their fixtures do turn from game week 8. So I think you can just hold on for two more game weeks and wait and see if their attack clicks or their defense gets any better. I think they're a wait and watch. And
yeah,
if,
in fact, if you want to go for United, you can go for the defense. They have and Mazraoui, Dalo, and Delete. So these three are good picks from their defense, but the
I think
attack is something
Delit
which is not
Delit
stable.
Delit you mentioned Delit, I think price at 5 million is what is putting me off. I think if he was 4.5, he would have been a good value with that threat of headed goal, because he gets on the end of those corners and everything. But at 5 million, you have I think you have better option at 5 million. So Delite's price is what is putting me off. I think again, same views. I
So
think
Delete is more like a Delete is more like a Romero.
yeah,
So you get that upside of goals now and then. So that's what
yeah.
Delete offers. Same as Tello. Tello doesn't offer that goals, but he does offer that assist and the bonus capabilities.
Yes, definitely. I think Manchester United can be an exit option for game week 6 wildcarders, because if any of your picks go wrong in defense or in maybe in midfield or attack, and United start clicking, I think they offer a good exit point from game week 8 onwards. You can move to their assets if something goes wrong in your team. What do you agree with that, Shuro? Do you think you
Yeah,
wait till game
yeah,
week 8?
absolutely. Because Bruno Fernandes is just sitting right there at 8.3. I mean, he is performing well. He's taking shots. He's just been unlucky. So
Yeah,
even like if you have Palmer, you could easily swap to a
yeah.
Bruno. Yeah, that would be a good option.
Yeah. And you have Garnacho, Ahmad, and Hoyland, and you'll see more minutes and more clarity on who's starting, who's not,
Yeah.
and what's going on. So, yeah, I think wait and watch with United. City, we have discussed. Liverpool always this season. I think they're a good team for perma play throughout the entire season. Whether you keep Trent, Whether you lose Trent to save money, that's a discussion to be had. Uh, do you keep Trent? Is he an essential?
See, no player is an essential. So the you have to think about what in combination. Do you go for a Trent and a 5.5, or do you downgrade Trent to a 4.5 and then upgrade that 5.5 to a better attacker? So you have to think of that combination, because a 4.5, I mean, may not offer the same points as Trent, but if you average it out with the attacker that you bring in, that would be beneficial.
Yeah. So let's move on. I think we have covered most of the teams. Fulham, I think a lot of people have Robinson and Emil Smith Rowe. I think my personal views. I think you can. It's time to lose Robinson. You can go for uh, other 4.5s and maybe you Nottingham Forest or somebody if you want. But even if you
Yeah.
want to keep even if you want to keep Robinson, I think that's perfectly fine. If you can rotate him for some of the tougher fixtures. Smith Rowe, is he a hold, or do you think a sideway move to Semenyo or McNeil makes more sense?
No, if you have Smith Rowe, he and you got him at 5.5, he could be a season hold, because you can rotate him with Rogers during the tough fixtures.
Yeah,
So when he's playing Man City away, Rogers is playing United at home. When he's playing Arsenal at home, Rogers is playing Southampton at home. So yeah, he's a good rotation with Rogers. And yeah, Smith Rowe has scored goals this season. I mean, we know what he could do in Arsenal when he was in that fine form. So yeah,
yeah,
Smith Rowe
he's
is
in
a
fine form
season.
right now also. I think
Yeah,
he has returned in back-to-back games, so yeah, he's in fine
yeah.
form.
The first few games were more of building his fitness. Now he has been slowly getting minutes, and his minutes are now what, like 80 plus. So he will continue to get minutes. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
prefer Smith Rowe.
yeah.
Just
Fully
that
agree
I
with
have
that. Fully
removed him from my wild card.
agree. So we all have good advice for others. Sometimes don't have it for ourselves. I have done the same thing. I am advising everybody to keep Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I have removed him from my wildcard team. But that was more fun related. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed owning him for the first 5 game weeks, but just couldn't manage with the funds. We'll come to that. Uh, Crystal Palace, I think they're similar to Newcastle and Manchester United. You have to, I think it's a wait and watch till they improve. They will improve. That I truly believe. Glasner is a good manager. Their defense, their quality players there. They will turn it around, but you have to wait till they turn it around. And wildcard six, I don't think you have to go there because at every price point you have a better alternative. Uh, Apart from Crystal Palace, let's just finish off with Brighton. Again, we've seen people jumping off Brighton assets. Do you think Chelsea, Spurs, and Newcastle are actually very bad for their attackers? I personally feel their attackers could actually get returns in those.
Yeah, if I had Welbeck, I would have hold him. I mean, Joao Pedro is an injury risk at this point. If you want to get rid of Joao Pedro, that's perfectly fine. But Welbeck, I would definitely hold. He could score against all the three.
And he looks nailed because I don't think after these performances, even if he blanks a couple of game weeks, I think he'll still start because he has merited that with his performances over the first 5 game weeks. That is what my takeaway would be.
And the defense is a sell as well. So I
Yeah,
don't
defense is a
expect them
sell.
to keep clean sheets as
No, no. I think even in the Wolves fixtures in game week 9, you would expect them to concede. Wolves are good going forward
Yeah, Wolves are good attacking.
in their attack. Yeah. So I think we have covered most of the teams, fixtures, and the major assets. Anything you want to add, or any asset, anyone who comes to your mind, Shourav, that we
No,
might
I
have missed?
think no, I think we have covered all of them. Now we can jump on to the wildcard team.
Yeah. So let's just first, before we look at my wildcard draft, let's look at your team. Shourav, why don't you take us through what your transfer plans are at this point?
So I have two transfers and 1.1 million in the bank. I so since I have most of the players that the wildcarders will be bringing in, I would at this moment I'm trying to fight a few fires. So Joao Pedro, Mint, and Minte are the ones that I'm trying to ship them out. So I'm looking at a direct replacement for Joao Pedro as Calvert Lewin and someone like ESR or Semenyo for Minte. Now, what
Okay.
I could also do is if I keep these two and decide to transfer them out later, what I could also do is bring in Saka for Salah because I already have Diaz and Trent, so I'd be covering most of their attack and defense. Or I could do a Nico Jackson to Havertz. Now that would give me the Arsenal attack coverage. The only thing that I couldn't get to at this point without a hit is the Arsenal defense. But I have the next best options. That's Lewis, Rico Lewis, Colwell, and Trent. I mean, they don't have the uh, high clean sheet odds as Arsenal, but they are the next best.
Yeah. So for people who are listening to us on audio, why don't you just once read out your present team?
Yeah, so the current team is Flecken in goal, Dean, Luca Dean, Greaves, Trent, uh, as the back three. That could be with Rico Lewis and Colwell on the bench, so I could swap them in for any of the two. The midfield is Salah, Diaz, Rogers, and Bumo. Those are fixed. I would be playing them definitely. In attack, I have Nico Jackson, Joao Petro, and Haaland. Haaland as captain, which could change. Now on my bench, I have Fabianski, who's not coming in at any point, and Minte, who's my attacker. So yeah, the transfers that I've said could change the order of things if I play a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2.
Great, great. So I think those both the options that you're thinking of, I think are very good options going forward. I think Semenyo is a very good high side pick, and Arsenal is obviously Arsenal. So yeah, I think you have some decisions to make before the deadline. So let's move on to my wildcard draft. So I have two drafts here that I wanted to present and discuss with you also in this pod. For the audio guys, I'll just read it out. It's mostly similar apart from two changes. So I have Raya and Fabianski in goal. Raya was in my team, so I retain Raya. Konsa, Gabriel, Konate, Greaves, and Mikolenko in my defense. Rogers, Embumo, Saka, Salah, Carvalho in my midfield, Wood, João Pedro, and Haaland as my forward. I have zero point 0.1 million left in the bank with this team. And my second draft is essentially the same team, except I have transferred Mikolenko out for a 4.0 million defender. In this case, I've just kept Vestergaard as a placeholder. And that extra zero point 0.3 million um, allow not that only. I think instead of Saka, I've gone for Luis Diaz, and this extra money from Mikolenko to 4.0 defender and from Saka to Diaz allows me to get Havertz in my forward line instead of João Pedro. So basically, my forward line becomes Wood, Havertz, and Haaland, and my midfield becomes Rogers, Mbumo, Luis Diaz, Salah, and Cavallo. So these are the two essentially two drafts that I'm confused in. Both the drafts have zero point 0.1 million in the bank. So this is what is simmering in my head. I mean, I'm tinkering with these two drafts. Uh, I'd love to have your thoughts, and I'd like to pick your brain on this, Shourab. If you were in my place, or just looking at it from your point of view as well, which one do you prefer, and what changes would you make?
Okay, so let me go through the assumptions that I made. So you have Rhea, Gabriel, Konsa, Konate, Sala, Bumo, Wood, and Haaland. They are locked, right? You won't be changing
And
them.
Rogers, Rogers also.
And Rogers, yeah. So
Yeah.
you won't be changing. So mostly these big hitters are fixed. So you won't go down from a Salah to a Saka. You would be keeping Salah irrespective, or
Yes.
is there any change? Okay,
No, I want to keep Salah. I mean, the problem is as soon as I hit the wildcard button, because initially I had planned my all throughout this entire tinkering stage, I was fixed on keeping Salah. So what I did was as soon as I hit the wildcard button to fit this team around, I had to transfer out Trent Alexander-Arnold. And because I have already transferred him out, I have lost value in him. So the only thing that could have happened was no Salah and a Diaz Trent combo. But I think I have, by selling him and losing value, I think I have kind of locked myself out of it at this point. So yes, Salah at this point is a lock in the team.
okay. So now talking about the rest. So the first going to the defense line, you have that doubt between Mikolenko and Vestergaard. So first, I mean Mikolenko, we know the fixtures turn for Everton. The defense could improve, but it's not like you'd be playing him during those good fixtures. I mean, throughout those good fixtures, right? He could come in as a sub, or are you planning on rotating him?
No, Mikolenko will rotate with
Okay,
Konsa.
so
I mean,
he's a
I will
rotation.
not,
So
I will not immediately start him because obviously I'll need to see Jared Branthwaite back, and I'd like to see Sean Dyche's team playing like a Sean Dyche team. And as soon as the defense improves, I think Mikolenko can play. But I think he's great value at 4.3. I think because the fixtures for a long term are very good.
okay, so
And it
that
also covers
I'm
me from injuries because if I go for two
yeah.
4.0 defenders, I literally have good for I mean next to nothing bench. So any unforeseen injuries would really force me into an unplanned transfer.
So the Mikolenko and the Konsa rotation is something that you're looking for. So now that eliminates your confusion in the back line. Now coming on to the main highlight of your two teams, which is the Arsenal attack.
It's Saka
I
versus
guess
Havertz essentially.
Saka versus Havertz. So
So
basically,
it's a Saka João Pedro versus
it's
Havertz Luis
Havertz Diaz.
Diaz.
Havertz Luis Diaz. So if you're going Havertz Luis Diaz, let me first go for the pros. Havertz could score. He plays the number 9. Everything is funneled through him, and he's always near the goal for any tap-ins or any headers. He even if he's playing as a number 8, he always goes up, like we said, and he tends to score. Luis Diaz, he's been on fine form. He plays for one of the most attacking team in the league, and yeah, he's been doing pretty well. So he's one of the main considerations in your team. Now, coming to the negatives of it, Havertz could the tipping form in Arsenal's attack. I mean, they haven't been great. The attack hasn't been amazing, as we saw at the back end of the last season.
Yes,
So
and the absence of Odegaard really hurts Havertz, I think,
yeah,
his output.
that's the main thing. He has to do a lot of the work that Odegaard used to do. He falls back, tries to tackle for the ball
Yeah,
when Odegaard is not there. So
yeah.
that tends have us appeal a bit, and like we previously mentioned for Luis Diaz, the 60 minutes or the 65 minutes substitution. And with the fixture congestion that's coming in with all those Champions League games, and Gakpo being a competitor for him, Luis Diaz's minutes could go down. Now these are the two
Cons of it.
main negatives. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, comparing it to the Saka Joao Pedro draft, the Saka essentially has no negatives apart from his price.
Yeah.
I think he has more routes to points. He's nailed for 90 minutes.
And
He
one more advantage there, which I could while I was planning the iterations. One more advantage is that Saka could become a Foden KDB at any point when I want
Yeah,
to invest in City, a second City attacker.
exactly.
As soon as I start to see Foden nailed and playing well, I could just make that switch in a blink of an eye. Uh,
Yeah, the price
and
point is there.
yeah, and Foden is at this point 9.3. Even if I get him at 9.4, 9.5, that saves an extra half a million, which could again upgrade my defense attack. I could invest that money. So that spot opens up with Saka in one move. While in the other draft, if I want to go for any City attacker apart from Savinho or Gundogan at 6.5, if I want to go for KDB or Foden, I'll need at least two moves, at least.
And the good thing in both the drafts is that you have a double Arsenal defense, so you're not losing out on anything.
Yeah.
Uh, just that, yeah. In
I,
the first draft, Saka is a huge attacking threat.
Yeah, and I've tried to cover the Liverpool defense as well because in our slot we've seen four clean sheets. We keep talking about Arsenal's defense. In the last pod also we mentioned Liverpool's defense is going under the radar. So I think because I had to lose Trent, I just could not live with myself with having no Liverpool defense cover. So I've got Konate in there as well. I was initially tempted to go for Pedro Porro when I was trying to making my notes and think this draft through in the earlier weeks. But since Kulusevski and Madison have started playing together,
Yeah,
Pedro Porro's appeal has gone down.
yeah. Pedro's
I'm not.
main
Yeah,
USP of the attacking threat that's gone. So
yeah, I'm not
yeah,
attracted by Pedro Porro at this point, unless something changes. Because he's taking no corners, he's doing nothing at this point, which he was doing earlier and last season as well. So yeah, I think again the only thing which I don't like in the Saka draft is it'll sound weird, but I don't really enjoy the João Pedro pick.
yeah.
I just
That's
feel I'm really light on my forward line because I would love to have a Havertz or a Jackson or a Solanke there because I'm investing so much in my midfield and also I have a good defensive cover. I think this is very good defense to have I mean to take me through next 6 7 game weeks. So because of that, I think my forward line is a little weak. So that is what I don't like about
that
this
is
draft.
bound to happen. You're going with three premiums. That's basically Saka, Salah, and Haaland, and you have a premium goalkeeper, and also your backline is good. You don't have 4.5. So you have a Gabriel, you have a Konate. So the first draft, the only negative point that I find is the Joao Pedro and the Carvalho pick. So
So this
what
can also become a 4.5 midfielder, and I can
and
get
DCL?
this can. So I'll be point one short of a DCL. If I want to get a DCL, I will have to downgrade Carvalho to a 4.5 mid and Mikolenko to a 4.0 because I have zero point 0.1 million in the bank and going to a 4.5 midfielder from Carvalho will give me zero point 0.3 extra. So that's zero point 0.4. So, oh yeah, so
Okay, yeah,
I'll get to job
we
Pedro.
get to
Sorry, DCL.
DCL. So
But
it's yeah,
again,
point three from
I don't really, I'm not feeling
great
the
DCL.
DCL pick. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
feeling that DCL pick yet. So that's a
you can
risk.
do another thing. So Joao Petro, you can drop him down to a dead spot, and then upgrade Carvalho to a 5.5 pick. Maybe a ESR or Semenyo. But yeah, it would be a
Yeah,
dead spot in for
I thought about that. Yeah. So what happens is even with Carvalho or with a 4.5 mid, you know that guy is playing. I can find 4.5 mid playing midfielders. There's
yeah, that's a
you know
dead spot in forward.
Yeah, but in forward,
You would
it's nobody's playing. So I do not want to keep a dead spot while I'm wildcarding in game week 6, and I have to take this team through to game week 20 or 21 at least till the next wildcard is activated. So that I feel is a waste of a spot. At least you should have unforeseen injuries, fixture congestions, rotations. Somebody can at least sub in for a non-playing player. The only thing I can do here is maybe if I move Carvalho to a 4.5 and I get that zero point 0.4 extra, this could become a Welbeck as well. João Pedro
Yeah.
can become a Welbeck. João Pedro uh, can become a DCL, yes. It could also become an Ivan Listen. I mean, nobody's talking about him. He has Southampton and Leicester next. I know he has not returned yet, but that guy
But he's a
is a quality
he's a good
striker.
striker.
Yeah, he's played for Brazil. He had a good record previously as well in his previous clubs, and he's a lot like Diego Costa. Does a lot of the ball recovery and dirty work. Might not get a lot of goals throughout the season, but those two are prime fixtures if you ever want to take a punt on him. So I was thinking
Yeah,
if
I think
I could go
yeah, it's
I could
better.
go to Evan Listen at 5.9 and then switch from there. You at 5.9 I would have NKTI and Welbeck still open to me later on.
Yeah, that price point will still be there. So yeah, my first thought would be to downgrade Carvalho, because Carvalho as an eighth attacker wouldn't always come into your uh, 11, right? Because Carvalho is also a rotation risk. He's not like Rogers, who's playing 90 minutes every game. So
But um it's very tempting, because we've seen Carvalho start that first game at 4.8. His upside, he has a high ceiling. You have to admit that because if he starts playing, we don't know he'd be rotated or he will not start. If we see Thomas Frank start Carvalho regularly, I think everybody would be going for him at that price point with the ceiling he can provide to you. So
yeah, then you can
this could
actually start with Carvalho for for the next week. Keep
yeah.
Pedro on the bench, and by the time Carvalho becomes a rotation risk, Pedro would be fit.
Yeah, so that's I think we are more set on the first draft. The only thing is how can we improve João Pedro? Do we go Carvalho or do we go to a 4.5 mid? I think that is the main conversation. But yeah, so at the end of the day, I'd be uh, with a slightly uh, underpriced forward line. Only Haaland, the big hitter, and rest 2.6 million price point for forward. Not, I don't find that exactly ideal, but let's see where we end up.
But you'd be going into game week 7 with two free transfers, right? In case anything doesn't work out for, let's say, game week 7, you could, or game week 8, you could have three transfers where you could transfer the funds from, let's say, Saka or Salah or anyone in your defense. You can downgrade Konate to a 4.5 and then upgrade Carvalho to someone else.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So I'll have those transfers. That is true. Yeah, let's see where we end up at. I think we've spent a lot of time on my draft, but I think it merited that given this is a wildcard pod. So let's move ahead, Shourab. Let's talk about the upcoming game week. Let's do our captaincy picks and the differential of the week. So who's your captaincy preference this game week? So
So
for all our listeners on the audio platform, I think the options that we have listed down are Haaland versus Newcastle away, Salah versus Wolves away. These two are always in the conversation for captaincy. Saka versus Leicester at home. I think he will be the big variance this week because a lot of people might punt on Saka. Uh, Watkins versus Ipswich away. If you want to go different, gain some ranks, take a high risk approach, and Palmer versus Brighton for those who are looking to go ultra differential maybe. So where are you at, Shuro, in this?
my captaincy is currently set with Haaland. So it would be either Haaland or either one of Salah or Saka. So it all depends on which moves that I make. If I
Yeah,
transfer Salah to Saka, I'll captain Saka maybe because of the Leicester home.
yeah,
If I don't do the transfer, I'll captain Haaland. Yeah, that's that. Those are the only two options.
great, great. I think versus that Newcastle defense, Haaland, I think it will be hard to look past Haaland if you have him
Yep.
and you have invested 15 million on Haaland. I don't think you look past that. But yeah, Salah I think is a very good shout. Saka, I think, is a bit risky without Odegaard again. All the things we said in this pod, so it could affect him. It could not. Uh, but that's something uh, for you to decide. Now let's move on to the differential for the week. Shura, whom have you picked as your differential? Last pod, I think you rocked it with Jackson. I think I laughed at you, but that is some way to come back in this pod. So big congratulations! You had a 16 pointer from Jackson as your differential pick. I picked Liam Delap. I had a 1 pointer. So that pretty much sums up who's the expert here. But yeah, sure, your differential for this week.
So it's a very odd one again. I have two differentials in mind. First one is I have stated it in the last part that
But you can choose only
I have,
one. So you
okay,
can say two, but you have to choose one. So that will be your differential.
okay. So the differential that I would go for is Telit. He could absolutely batter Spurs at home with a not with a clean sheet, but with like one or two headed goals. It could be because Bruno Fernandez's delivery is really good, and we have seen Casemiro got a lot of chance from free kicks.
Yeah,
So Bruno Delete could be a good differential this week, and also only because he's just 5 million. You could go for him in the wild card, and then or even as a pick. And another one that I wanted to call out was Gundogan. I have seen him play for the past two games uh, in the Champions League as well. He bombs forward. He's taking the same positions like he did in for Germany. So for Newcastle, everyone would be marking Haaland, and they would play more of a, let's say, they would have a more of a, not exactly a tiki taka style, but Gundogan could unlock that defense, and also he takes set pieces, so
yeah.
that could work in his favor.
Very good shouts. I think both the differentials, I think, are very unique shouts because I've not heard anybody pick Delete and Gundogan as differential. So again, a very unique shout from you as expected. Uh, I would pick again. I would actually. I was also torn between two picks. I'll mention both, but I'll obviously choose one. I think my differential for this week would be Semenyo against Southampton. I think he's really looking lively and he's had a good start to the season. And even against Liverpool, he got a goal which got ruled out for offside. So my differential for this week would be Semenyo. Although if you want to go a little more different, I just mentioned during our my team wildcard discussion, I think Ivan Listen could be a good differential this week as well. I think he's due his first goal. He missed the penalty against Chelsea, and the coming upcoming two fixtures are a perfect chance for him to get him on himself on the score sheet and gain some confidence back. So Ivan Lisson is also a good shout, but Semenyo I think has definitely has a greater
Yes,
upside to him.
Semenyo is definitely a good pick for the. I mean, regardless of whether you wildcard or just transfer in, Semenyo is a good pick. He's playing Southampton. Yeah, that's a good shot.
Yeah.
What's his? Is he not highly owned, or I
No,
don't
I
I
don't think
haven't seen a lot of
he's still
Semenyo.
under 10% there. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
still
people are just talking about him, but no one has actually picked him yet. Yeah, you
yeah, I
see a
think
lot of
that is more
Semenyo
to
and
do with that has more to do with the fixtures that because
the
nobody
tough
started with
fixtures.
Semenyo
Yeah,
as such, and then we saw him. Yeah, we
yeah.
saw him play well. There were a lot of people wildcarding in game week 4, but he had Liverpool in game week 5. So I don't think
Mm, yeah.
many people picked him. Those who picked him didn't play him. But now I think there will be a lot of teams with Semenyo. I think ESR to Semenyo would be a very popular move in this for game week 6 wildcarders. So yeah, I think we have covered all that we wanted to from this pod. Game week 6 fixtures. I think we have given a preview in the last pod itself, so you can just drop in a listen to our last pod, and we have previewed all the fixtures in terms of uh, the actual football and the kind of results that we expect. So you can just go back to our previous pod and have a listen. That was a great pod as well. So yeah, I think we had a good pod. This one as well. The great discussions with you, Shourav, on Wildcard. I think we were able to cover all the teams and all the picks that are under consideration or that are doing well right now. So great discussions, great food for thought for me. Um, Anything that you would like to add before we wrap this up?
No, it was a great discussion. I think we covered a lot of things, and yeah, always happy to help.
Yeah. So thank you for that. And for all of you listening, as usual, all of you who are listening to us on audio platforms, please follow us, give us a rating, and you can give us your feedback on our socials. We are on X at FooTea Fantasy, Instagram also at FooTea Fantasy. Is the same ID everywhere. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you liked it, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, leave a comment, tell us how what you felt, how the pod is, and since we have started quite new, you could give us some very constructive feedbacks as well. So we'd be looking forward to that. We'll come back with another pod on. We'll try to come out with another pod on Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll let you know through our social channels, and that would be the review of Game Week 6 and how our teams did. So till then, take care and have a good Game Week 6. And if you're wildcarding, all the best and happy tinkering.